Welcome to the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby, brought to you by our friends at Vodafone. A monumental weekend of rugby has preceded this recording. The Springboks won the Men's Rugby World Cup. The Women Boks started off the weekend in winning fashion and things continued for teams in green. Ireland won WXV3. See what I did there with teams in green? In Dubai, and Scotland, well, they reigned supreme in WXV2 in Cape Town. Scaz has been playing her imaginary bagpipes the whole time. It's just WXV1 to go now, but it perfectly serves as a tee-up for the most monumental rugby weekend that we will see all year. I'm putting it out into the universe. Our girl Mo, also putting it out in the universe, is starting in the number 9 jersey against the Black Ferns. Tra-la-la-la, where are your spirit fingers? What did you do with them again the other day?
Jazz hands.
I
missed my cue.
Jazz hands. There we go, jazz hands. And before we bring on a legendary guest to look ahead to this game, we're just going to take a quick moment for the finales that WXV2 and 3 served up. Dubai saw Ireland win with an actual final against Spain. We love that. We love the competitiveness. They came out on top. Huge result there, 15-13. And what is great about Tier 2 is that in Cape Town, Scotland managed to score a win, but not straightforward by any stretch of the imagination, only because of the way that this format is set up. Italy and Scotland topping the pile going into the final weekend, 10 points apiece. Scotland wins, but with points difference of 2. If Italy had scored 2 more points, their points difference would have been level, and then the whole thing would have been decided by try difference. So that's mental.
It is mental. But yeah. And also, it's a really hard thing as a player to keep a track of. And my question is, I wonder if Italy knew. I wonder if they knew what the points difference was. Because I think there was an opportunity for them to potentially take a penalty 3 points. And they must have known, but like when you're in the heat of the moment, tough game, like doing plus and minuses, obviously when another team scores, then you score again. Like it's carnage to keep a track of. But yeah, something maybe moving forward needs to keep a bit of a closer eye on. But how good for Scotland. Amazing win. First tournament victory for Scotland women since 2001, I think. First 6 wins on the bounce since 2001. So a team that's really on the up, which is amazing for those guys. And they played Friday night. Their flight wasn't until Monday, so they basically had a long weekend I think they were at Cape Town, weren't they? A long weekend in South Africa, wherever they were, to just get amongst it as a team. Unreal. Unheard of.
And the benefit for Six Nations fans is that this tees Six Nations up in such an exciting way, because Italy and Scotland will be going hammer and tongs at it again in, 2 months' time, 3 months' time. But also Ireland has emerged with all of this enthusiasm and momentum and the wind beneath their wings, which is amazing because it just hopefully ensures a much more competitive and closely matched Six Nations. And France and England, watch out. And speaking of wind beneath people's wings, South Africa, Samoa. My girls, oh my goodness. I talked up how close this was going to be last week because there was a pre-WXV draw between South Africa and Samoa, but the women box came out huge, big guns blazing, and a relegation, unfortunately, for Samoa off the back of this, because this was the playoff at the bottom of WXV2. But it was just so beautiful to see the Samoan and the women box girls, the Manusina and the women box together, taking a big group picture at the end of the game. And Sui, their captain, presenting Babalwa with a ceremonial gift on behalf of the Manusina. And gifting culture, for those who don't know, in Polynesian cultures, but especially in Samoa, is a really big deal. It's like their love language is so deeply rooted in gifting. So for that little... And it felt really informal, but formal at the same time moment post-match. I saw even, men commenting going, this is rugby. This is it. Here is that intangible thing about respect and cultures coming together. And the impact that the women playing here in Cape Town, winning had on the morale of people everywhere. It was celebrated universally, and then to have something bigger even to celebrate off the back of that has just made Cape Town, which is where I am at right now, if you were wondering, feel like really the center of the world. South Africa, just having a little moment in the sun. And I know that the men's final could so easily have gone New Zealand's way, and it must be so painful losing by such narrow margins, because that game could have very easily gone the other way, and it would have been very well deserved. But the impact that the Springboks have had since they have returned to South Africa, and the videos that I'm sure you've also seen pop up in your feed, should tell people how widely felt the impact of this is for the 60 million plus people in South Africa. We don't have rock stars. Justin Bieber didn't come from here. But we rally around the success of the Springboks because it is a little well of hope that we all need to draw from. And it is so significant. But I'm going to stop gushing about it now because we have bigger things. This was all just a precursor to WXV1, as I said. And the final weekend there stacks up with such a meaty encounter. It's New Zealand going at it against England again. Now we need to bring in our legendary guest to look ahead to this weekend's action in Aotearoa. She made her debut in a black shirt as a teenager and played in 4 World Cups. Only a small overachiever, winning 3. She's retired from Test rugby as the most capped Black Fern of all time following New Zealand's victory over England at Eden Park last year. She plays the same position as our Mo and has no doubt had a few battles with her over the years. Hello, Kendra Cocksedge.
Hi, guys.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
What has the vibe been out there? What's the atmosphere like? You are involved but not involved in WXV, so I'm sure you're probably one of the best placed people for us to get a read on this.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough actually to, I was in Wellington for the first games, in Dunedin for the second, and now I've actually just arrived in Auckland tonight for this weekend's game as well. And I think it's really exciting. There's a really good hype in terms of like it's so cool to have the top teams playing against each other. Again, I know there's some real hype around obviously the Black Ferns French game, and I think this weekend obviously is a rematch of the World Cup final. But no, it's been, unfortunately we probably haven't got the crowds that I think we would have liked, but in terms of like the vibe around it, it's been pretty cool, and I think the teams seem to be loving it as well.
Now, I mentioned our Mo. She wasn't there during the World Cup last year, but you guys must have had a few battles over the years. Can you tell us about your experience? Can you remember the first time you met Mo?
Don't hold back either, Kendra. Don't hold back.
No, to be honest, first of all, I was gutted for her not to be there last year. I actually kind of missed her, being a part of and playing up against her, and it's actually really cool to see her back in the jersey. I think, from my end, I think me and Mo have had a really good relationship as nines. You can tend to come up against other halfbacks and it can be a little bit more niggly and whatnot, but there's a little bit of niggle there, but I feel like we've respected each other enough to kind of get through that. And but she's pretty much just like me, talks a lot of crap at the scrums, at rucks, spins a lot of yarns out there, and but brings a lot of energy, quality player as well. But I actually really enjoyed coming up against Mo.
Oh, tell us about Kendra being on the other side, Scaz. Give us that insight.
Well, I wouldn't have had as close an insight as Mo, obviously being literally next door to each other pretty much all game in terms of being a 9. But yeah, I think she's just said it there in terms of being a little bit chirpsy. All 9s are, but in obviously the very best way. But no, just pure quality. Like we've obviously played against each other right from pretty much when we first got capped, right up until obviously last year in the World Cup final. So yeah, it's been a cool journey actually to go on together against one another. Unfortunately, Kendra's won a lot more along the way than I have. But yeah, just pure quality, and always just a good person to chat to off the field. It's always nice when you have that mutual respect and that kind of humility both sides, that actually you can play really hard against one another and then catch up. I remember, I think it was 2019 when we were in America. I think you guys had just won that game. Kendra had stepped about 5 people to score this unreal try in the corner, or offloaded. I can't remember who scored it. And then we just sat on the
Renee
pitch.
Whitcliffe scored it in the corner.
There you go. Yeah. She remembers, you see. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. But then we just sat on the pitch, didn't we, for 15, 20 minutes or something, and just caught up, which was really nice. And they're the kind of the friendships and the relationships that you really enjoy making, tough on the pitch, and then being able to catch up after.
Oh, those are sweet memories. I love that. Kendra, talk to me about the kind of rivalry between England and New Zealand. As Scazzy says, unfortunately, you guys seem to be on the winning end in the games when it really matters, and that's obviously a bit of a thorn in the Red Roses side. But why do you think that is? Is there a way of kind of distilling that into a central value or something? It's a bit like how South Africa seems to, in men's rugby, just be able to win even when they have no business of winning, like even against the odds.
Get that in there.
Obviously, I'm going to find a way
gone
around
early.
it.
She's gone straight in there. She's pretending she's asking you a really nice. She's pretending she's asking you a really nice question, but slips it in.
I love it.
But winning against the odds is something the Black Ferns, I mean, even when the odds are with you, you're always so dominant, but you tend to also just pull them out of places that stuns everyone.
Yeah, well, I think, like, first of all, the rivalry between the Black Ferns and the Red Roses has obviously been around for as long as I can remember. England are a top quality side, and so are the Black Ferns, and it was always that real competitive game and I guess real battle to come up against the Red Roses. And when I first kind of came into the team, it was like a huge grudge match. It used to be like heavily based around, oh, we're going to play England, but it's kind of settled a little bit throughout the years, which is actually been quite nice, because I think the hard part for us when I first started too, and Scaz kind of touched on it before, like the relationships off the field, like we didn't really necessarily have that because we never got the opportunity to do that post games. It was always like, I think we used to have 3-day turnarounds or 4-day turnarounds, and so the time you kind of played, you'd get home, and so you never actually got to build those relationships off the field. And then I kind of remember coming in and I was real grudgy with the Black Ferns in England. And I think, to be honest, I think the Sevens actually helped probably soften up the relationship in terms of between the black jersey and the white jersey, which I actually think has been pretty cool to experience over the years. And I think, to be honest with you, you say that the Black Ferns win when we need to. I could have told you in February, March last year, obviously it was going to be a massive steep uphill for us to be able to win the World Cup. And then I don't know what it was. There was something over us those last two games at Eden Park, something magical over Eden Park. Obviously, we had come a long way from where we were on the end of year tour in 2021. And it's kind of almost known in the black jersey, we have that never die attitude. You have that the history and the legacies that is in it. You play for the people before you, and you're playing for your family. And one of our values in our team is whānau, and that's obviously huge. And when you're playing at a World Cup at home, you just get that extra, I guess, 20%. To when you go out there into battle, so it definitely helps when you're playing at home. And then obviously with the World Cup final, unfortunately I've seen the podcast of Lids as well. Obviously hugely gutted for her when she got that red card. You think about the success, and I'm stoked that we won, but unfortunately I feel for her. She's obviously spoken openly about it, and I think that's actually really cool and really special. No doubt Sam Kane's actually going through the same. He'll be going through that over the next probably 6 to 12 months and processing that, because it isn't easy. But at the end of the day, rugby is just a game, right? So I think it's pretty cool that she's been able to do that. But I think this weekend it's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge battle. I know Scaz will be able to tell you the revenge will be out to beat us, beat the Black Ferns at home. There's no doubt about it, and I love it. I can't wait for the match. Actually, I can't wait for that rivalry.
The rivalry between these two teams and the excitement of it now, Kendra, this must be a very different experience for you because you don't actually get to have a say. You are confined to the sidelines and you have to watch on. How painful is that for you at the moment? Or are you really enjoying this not being on you?
First of all, throughout the whole year, so 12 months, it's just about 12 months actually since I retired, I am a horrific supporter. Like all the rugby games that I've watched this year, I'm just battled in terms like I don't want to be out there. I say that, but like there's times when you're watching it and you've got no control, and like I guess as a halfback, like when you're out there, you almost have not complete control, but you have a lot of control of the game. But in saying that, I haven't really felt like I wanted to get out there. Like I haven't had itchy feet. Like people think it's crazy because I obviously love the game so much and played for so long that I'd be getting itchy feet and wanting to get out there. But um, I'm just content. I'm happy. The time was right. I remember actually speaking to DJ Forbes after the 2017 World Cup and asking him, because he was retiring from Sevens, and I said to him, how do you know when the time is right to retire? And he just goes, trust me, you'll know. And then it made sense. Obviously last year in the World Cup, obviously 2021, the World Cup getting postponed a whole year was quite a big grind for me mentally. But obviously had the drive of having a World Cup at home and playing in front of family and friends and potentially finishing on a high, which worked out that way. And I was lucky enough to have the fairy tale ending. But yeah, I don't miss it. Like I think it's a good thing though. I'm content and I'm happy and I'm okay watching, but I'm not very good. Like oh my God, there's too many close games this year that I've just lucky some of them I've just been watching by myself because I'm like yelling at the TV because I'm still like really critical. Like I just need to watch the game for watching the game.
Do you find, obviously having retired, your new role still within the union, do you find that like a good thing, still being so kind of connected and I guess within the game? Because some people like they need complete separation, don't they? I'm a bit like you, like obviously being injured at the moment, I still love being around it, doing bits of coaching, support, again, not particularly well because it's so hard supporting. But like have you found that like a good and positive thing still being around the game?
Yeah, I actually think that's probably helped my transition out, to be honest, still kind of being involved in it and obviously working full time. And I look after the South Island, I'm a women's participation manager. So I'm in it. And, I was doing that basically while I was playing until last year, being able to go full time. And, but yeah, I think it's helped the transition because as you said, I'm still kind of connected to it. But, I always reach out to ones that aren't fully connected to see how they're going. And they do find it a little bit harder. So I'm kind of still in the know a little bit, but at the same time, you've got to find where your happy medium is. Like I haven't been around the team a lot. Like that's one thing I wanted to get away from. Same with my Canterbury team as well. I just wanted to step back from a distance and just let them do what they needed to do. And I'm always here if they want to come and have a yarn or, I mentor a couple of the girls, the young ones coming through as well. And take them for skills and that, but I just try and step back in terms of being in and around the environment.
And what impact have you seen post World Cup? Because I remember obviously the last time we hosted was 2010. Obviously the times were quite different then, but even the impact post that World Cup, and we again didn't win it because of you guys, but like the impact following that was unreal in terms of the change in the game, obviously in our country. Like what impact have you seen this last year or so?
Yeah, it's actually been incredible. It's been huge, and like even just for me, like well, actually Wayne Smith said to me, once you retire, you'll probably end up being busier than what you are when you're playing, and that's basically what's happened. And I've just had to throw myself into my job and just wanted to ride the wave of off the back of the World Cup, and the momentum's been huge. We've had massive growth all through our participation from little 4 or 5 year olds all the way through to women. And it's been huge, and there's been a massive mindset change. Like obviously when we came back and we won in 2010, like I came back and there was like no one really cared. It was kind of like cool. And then 2014, I think when we lost in France, it was there was heaps of media back here because we had lost. Like everyone jumps on the negative side, and then coming back 2017, it was on the rise. But then to do one at home in front of a home crowd, I think has been massive for us. And I know you guys will be wanting to do that same impact in 2025 when you host it over there. But it's been a game changer for people back here, and and I'm lucky enough to still be a part of that in my job.
When you say it's a game changer, practically, what does this boil down to? So I spoke to someone in France who said that if Argentina just made the final, that they would see literally a doubling of participation figures under 18 in the first year, because that's the scale of the impact that making a Rugby World Cup final would have had there. Is there a quantifiable, like, can you say anecdotally, people have said to me in this area, or I've experienced in this place, last year we had so many girls playing and here it's now increased by this much. Is there an anecdote or a way of explaining that kind of impact in a practical way?
Yeah, it makes it hard, and I think it's for me, it's just been the media coverage and stuff around it, and we say a lot around like if you can see it, you can be it, and I think the fact that the women's game's obviously on the rise, and it's there's been a lot of mindset changes back here, like for us in provincial unions, you've had those CEOs that just didn't really want too much to do with it, but now they've realised that there's actually massive, if they resource it, then they can actually get some really good growth in what they're trying to do, and I think the fact that the media's jumped on it, like I actually I think I've got a photo from a media interview, and it might have been even 2021, like a media scrum, and then I was on doing my last one before the World Cup final, and I think like 2021 it was like one microphone in front of me, and then the World Cup, leading into that World Cup final, like the whole table was me and Ruby Tui, I think, was like full of mics and and phones and stuff, and I was just like walked into this room and I was just like, oh my gosh, and I actually took a video because I was just like, this is crazy. So the fact that they've jumped on it has really helped obviously market it, and which means that as I said, young girls can see it. The Black Ferns are known as role models back here, and they really are. They get out in the community a lot too, and we know that we want to continue that. They can't be untouchable. I think probably our All Blacks are a little bit untouchable now. You don't, when they're in the community, they're either got security all around them and they're getting chauffeured off somewhere, whereas the Black Ferns get told to that we've got to leave and then take ages to get in the van, or take ages to leave a school or a venue, because they just absolutely love it. So there's probably a couple of examples there of in that sense, and what I've found really cool is the amount of like all girls teams and all girls grades that have started. I've got Invercargill, South Island, an hour out, which is like a little country town, never had a boys or a girls rugby team, and now they've had their first girls rugby team, to compete in a year 7 and 8 tournament. And that's like a small example. We've got a women's team that are just coming out of nowhere to play club rugby. So it's been really cool. It's actually, it's really hard to explain, because because I get caught up in I need to do more, but when I reflect and talking to you guys now, I'm going, holy heck, we've actually achieved a lot in the last 12 months.
I love that I saw the Fern Fever, that collaboration that you guys had between the Otago sports organizations. For those who don't know, 500 junior female athletes flocked to Dunedin for a chance to meet the Black Ferns. And they played it's the first time that you played there in 26 years. So it was just so good to see 500 young women turn up for a session. And that you guys are there, and the Black Ferns are playing around the country. As you say, they're so tangible, they're so real. They've come to my town, I've seen them in real life. That impact is goosebump stuff.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough that's obviously part of my job, is working with Otago Rugby for them to do that, and they had organised that, and as I said, had a rotation around rugby, cricket and football because of the 3 World Cups that were here, and I thought that was really effective. And and at the end of the day, they had a station that I had to deliver because they were short ones, so man, I was so exhausted by the end of it. We had 15 rotations of 30 kids throughout the day, and I think I was in bed at 6:30 having a room service, because I was like, holy, this is what it's like. I was a bit rusty on the old, all day delivery. But absolutely loved it. And then when the Black Ferns came, they just got mobbed. We tried our best because I knew that was going to happen. But and they were well looked after. But I actually said to the media managers, I actually think we're going to need to get security from now on for some of these events, because it was pretty special and pretty cool to see.
I love that. It's absolutely brilliant. And I think that's the impact. That's the needle physically moving. And the work that you are doing and the level of visibility that you're enjoying because you're in participation now is so impactful, because you're not just, like an office bearer, someone like me who's never been involved in the game at the level that you have, just doesn't step into that space with the same kind of credibility, but also the opportunity to make such a big impact, because all of the little girls who got to work with you got to say, Kendra Cocksedge was there today, she helped me with this skill, or she made this impact in my game in certain ways. And this kind of experience, I mean, surely that has to trigger the coach inside of you, and at some level. Is there any aspiration there?
Yep, there is. I've dipped my toes in a couple of times this year. I just knew I had to, because the reason I needed to retire, like physically, my body was fine. I was reasonably fit, and but mentally, it was just getting tougher. 16 years at the top level, and for me, it wasn't just about being a Black Fern; it was about being a great Black Fern. So everything I did, I was very routine and very structured around my week, and it just got to the point that I had to realise there's more to life than rugby, and I have zero regrets. Don't get me wrong; I have zero regrets, and reflecting on my career in the last 12 months, it's been a hell of a journey, which I've absolutely loved. So I didn't want to commit fully to any like team stuff I did do teams, but nothing like a whole season. So I was lucky enough to coach the Canterbury development team, which is a team that sits underneath the Farah Palmer Cup over here, and so it's up and coming young girls, and they only had 2 trainings and 2 games, so that for me it was tough because it was so short, and you can imagine what I'm like wanting to make sure that we're trying to get things right, but I didn't have any time. I think I had 15 minutes with the backs each session or something, but I was lucky enough to do the New Zealand under-18 Barbarians team, which played our New Zealand under-18 Māori team in a one-off game, and that was just 4 days. So, and I've been loving that. So, I just kind of testing the waters. I wanna give back to the ones I can, and I'm enjoying being like a resource coach when needed, a skills coach for the young halfbacks and 9s and 10s or kickers. So there's definitely aspiration there, and I'll just gonna see what kind of happens over probably the next couple of years.
I'm just like fast forwarding almost to like the next maybe like 2-3 World Cups time, maybe 4, and just the potential of who could be coaching some of these teams. Like, you've got phenomenal ex-players that actually could be basically reuniting, but at the helm or part of coaching teams, which I think would be amazing. Like, we don't have enough women in the game coaching at the moment at a high level, and there's some brilliant ex-players. Obviously, Sarah Hunter's very much part of our setup at the moment, but that was a very quick transition. But I think like people like yourself, I know KDM's obviously expressed an interest as well, and there'll be people in all of the nations around the world. Like that could be an amazing thing in maybe like 3 World Cup times or something.
Are you telling us you're also going to coach, Scazzy?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was just saying people like Kendra, Suns, KDM. I might be kit woman.
Scaz, you'd be a great coach.
I could do kit woman.
You'd be a great coach.
Hey, maybe on a Lions tour, Kendra. If we come down to New Zealand on a Lions tour when I'm retired, I'll come down as a manager or something, and we'll just have some fun.
Yes, do that. I think I'm really interested actually to talk to, because obviously I had a bit to do with Sarah Hunter just through the Gallagher, because we're both ambassadors for Gallagher. So we spent 4 days in Chicago together, and it was cool to get to hang out with her for a bit. And I think she got announced when we were there that she was going to be helping coach, and so I'm interested to know how that quick transition has gone for her. Hopefully I can catch up with her on Saturday for a beverage maybe after the game or something, because I just didn't think I could do that. Too close to the girls, I wouldn't be able to handle that, I reckon.
I guess it does come down to your personal style and the kind of position you held in the team when you were still playing, because I think from everything I've heard, the way everyone's spoken about Suns, I think the nice thing is that she was there for so long, and she was so admired and respected even when she was still playing, that she was already almost holding a bit of a higher office. And so this transition, I think the step over into it, as you say, it must be incredibly intimidating and scary, because you're kind of breaking really new ground here. But the good thing is that you have so much experience and credibility behind you. And I think that you underestimate this about yourself a little bit, because your track record and the trail that you've blazed over such a long time is so incredibly impressive. 68 caps, 54 of them you're on the winning side. and you scored 404 points. I mean, it makes you the most capped Black Fern of all time, which is one thing, but also a really successful one. And you've played in 4 World Cups. You're the only survivor who was there in 2010 and then there in 21. So that level of institutional memory that you have, but also the ability that you've shown to be part of winning teams and helping teams get across the line is undeniable. I mean, no one would ever listen to you giving your opinion on anything and go, well, she doesn't really know what she's talking about.
Hey, I reckon there are some people that would. No, thanks for that, Elma.
Do you reflect on that? Do you sometimes go, oh, well, maybe I actually do know something. Like I do have contributions here that I can make. And even though you feel like you were just a player the other day, there is so much that that you know that you can give. And I love that you are involved in participation and coaching at certain levels. But you have to sometimes look around you and go, no, guys, come on. Because there is a level of understanding and experience that you hold that no one can get to.
Yeah, and I think like it's probably more myself. Like I want to do things and I want to do it well, so I'm trying to making sure that I'm doing things well to so dipping my toes and see if I'm actually really keen on doing it, and then maybe next year I'll do a little bit more and then throw myself into it. But I definitely feel I've got a lot to give back, and I've just got to find out how that looks. And I currently think it is through coaching. I love mentoring a couple of the young girls. Like that's really cool. Like tapping into them, setting goals, and then running, doing some sessions with them, and having a catch up. And because I think this generations that's coming through is a really interesting one. And I was actually talking to Sarah Hunter about that, and to see if they had the same kind of things with the Red Roses. But I think they need a little bit more self-belief and kind of push and support. So it's been quite cool playing that role with a few of the players this year as well. So if I can support them, and because it took me years to work out that a good strong routine throughout my week would actually help me perform better on the Saturday. And it was later in my career I worked that. So I'm trying to push that out to these girls these days, right? Trying to say, hey, like plan your week, be really, really clear on what you need to achieve before you go into the game. And then once you're actually playing, it's actually easy.
I don't know if it's that easy, but yes, I love that there is a practical, like a set of kind of key things that you can distill down and impart and say, these are the things that will really help. Having a settled routine, having a clear kind of, how many goals? What are we talking? 3 things, bullet points, basics?
Yeah, bullet points, basic as, obviously achievable, and then just like whether or not it's like a short-term, long-term, or a game goal. But it's 2 or 3 max.
Anything else, Coach, that we can put on the list?
You guys plugging me out. You're just trying to work out how you're going to win this 2025 World Cup. If anyone's got a coaching gig for me, maybe I could come over and coach over there in the Premiership.
Love for it.
Mate, you let me know. We can find something fast as anything. I've got a spare room.
I actually got approached. I got approached after World Cup.
Did you? Can you say who from?
Can I say? I don't know.
I don't know.
Look at you both leaning on in. No, it was the Trail Finders. I assume it's okay. They were looking for a coach. It was Giselle Mather.
Giselle, yeah.
Yeah. But I thought about it really strong, but I just wasn't ready to. And like just after being so committed to, as I said, to rugby for so long, I just needed that mental break. No one would have got the best out of me.
Well, if West London is ever your home, let a sister know. I mean, there are tons of Southern Hemisphere friends on that side of town. So, I mean, we'd be happy to show you around.
I can't believe you're pitching West London, Elma. I'm literally sat up here in the Midlands. Honestly.
Well, I mean, I'm just here for great rugby knowledge making its way across the we'll welcome anyone from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. Bring it over. We can always do with more input. And obviously, we just want to see the standards raised. Now, speaking of high standards and celebrating great people, we have to talk about the fact that the World Rugby Awards took place, and there was Tyler Nathan Wong was there, and Maddie Levi was there looking sensational. And then some of the retired girls, Nolly Waterman, absolutely killed it in that Barbie pink dress. But just not enough female presence as far as I'm concerned. In 2019, after the World Cup, Scaz was standing there next to Pieter Steff de Toey, having just won World Player of the Year. You did it in 2015, Kendra, just after the All Blacks had won that final at Twickenham and made it back to back. We get the practicalities around hosting the Rugby World Cup immediately, having the World Rugby Awards the night after the final, because everyone was in Paris. You know, a lot of people were in Paris. But the women's game is busy getting played in Dubai and in Cape Town and in Auckland this week. And so from a practical standpoint, honoring everyone on the same stage was sacrificed at the altar of just having as many of the men's game together in one place at the same time. And some people are looking at it going, well, I mean, what were they supposed to do? But what is the experience like when you are winning World Rugby Player of the Year and you are standing there on the same stage as the men in front of all of those people?
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say that, because the first thing I jumped on when it happened, I was like, what is going on here? I was like, there's no woman Hall of Famers, there's no nomination for, and I was like, we're in the middle of a competition that's actually going to play a huge role in who could be nominated and win those awards. But I think for me back in 2015, it's pretty special when you're all in one room, and I obviously get the practicality of having everyone there, but I always sit there and go, what happens if it was flipped the other way? And we had it in New Zealand last year after our World Cup. Would that ever happen? Probably not. Not right now. I'm not going to say never, because we're hopefully living in this world where things can progress and change. But it's pretty special to be able to go out there, and for me, it was awesome in 2015. I was lucky enough to go to the World Cup final and be at that game, and then go to the awards the night after. And when I'm in the room and getting a standing ovation from the All Blacks, that was pretty spine tingling. Those are kind of the memories that you never forget, that kind of live with you. And I think, it's just unfortunate that the ones that won it this year in the women's space is, I think, just going to get given it after WXV, is my understanding. I'm not sure how that celebration is going to work, but it's all I say unfortunate, because it is, as you said, it deserves to be celebrated, and celebrated big. And I just hope that going forward, as I said, the practicality around everyone being in Paris, totally understand where World Rugby's gone with that, but I don't know, there needs to be something else if that's the case, because we can't have it kind of continue going like that every year, because if WXV is going to sit in this window, then we need to find a time that's going to fit everyone, right?
I really hope that they're not just giving it after WXV as almost like a player of the match award, because I always really felt for Zoe Aldcroft, because she won it pretty much in COVID, I think. So there wasn't the big awards doing, there wasn't the fancy evening and get dressed up and everybody there. And I you've just been voted the best player in the world. That is the most ridiculous thing that you could probably ever achieve, and something that you never think you're going to achieve, because you're playing a team sport and it's never about that. Yet, that one moment could be almost dumbed down if you're just handed something at the end of a game. I just think it needs to be something special, and as you say, I don't think it can happen again like this. I hope the calendars are more aligned, or they think about it, or they do a completely separate one. I don't know how possible that is, but something whereby those players who have done all those amazing things are given their moment, and rightly so.
And this is not only happening in rugby. So the Ballon d'Or had exactly the same thing happen in football. Literally 24 hours later, they were hosting the Ballon d'Or Awards, and there were almost no women in attendance, because they're in the middle of playing internationals at the moment. And so this is a broader societal conversation, and I am so here for being part of the solution and coming up with the most innovative, creative ways of addressing this going forward. The thing, and the reason people are making such a big deal on this topic, is because in a men's Rugby World Cup year, the awards get so much more coverage than they get in any other stage of the cycle. And so this year is really prominent, as you say, Scaz. If you win it during lockdown and there's no event, then the coverage of it just undeniably will be less. And so the coverage on this event would far outstrip the other 3 years in the cycle. But looking ahead, I mean, let's have it in 25 immediately after the Rugby World Cup, the Women's Rugby World Cup final in England then. Let's bring the men's game together with the women's game at that opportunity immediately after a Rugby World Cup, when there will be an unprecedented amount of coverage, we anticipate, for the women's game. And let's celebrate that moment by bringing the whole of the rugby world together in England then. I do think that there were some really special moments at the awards and great speeches given. Adi Savia, that moment of visibility for the players having individual voices. We follow people more than we follow anything else. And this is a fact. If you go look at any social media platform in the world, the most followed accounts, top 20, 80% of them will be individual people, not brands. And so people will follow Adi and people will follow you, Kendra, before they follow the All Blacks and the Black Ferns, because your individual personal experience is so relatable and accessible to people, which is why these awards are really important. It is a team sport, and you won't get there without the team. But me feeling like I really relate to Adi, even though I'm not an All Blacks fan, is probably the most powerful thing the sport has to offer.
You're not an All Blacks fan? What?
Why do you think I'm in Cape Town right now? I'm the chairperson of the South African Rugby Fan Club.
Yeah, I guess.
But that's why I know I'm over talking this topic so heavily, but I'm so passionate about awards and the opportunity they give us to celebrate great people and for us to leverage the most out of them. But also, women's rugby has a completely different audience that it can bring to this party. So there are also immense gains that the global game can make out of celebrating great women and the things they achieve.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Like, I've actually been quite outspoken, not outspoken, I'm just going to say I'm speaking out around, like, the correcting the internet, correcting the net piece. There's been a few things that even have been posted back here that you guys may not have seen around, obviously, Will Jordan scoring, if he got his try. It's cool that Brian Havana obviously said Portia scored the most tries at a World Cup. Like, that kind of stuff is actually what we need. We need that to happen. And then there was a one around Sam Whitelock playing, which is awesome, going to that many World Cups too. But there's been so many females across the world that have, I think we've just got to be better at that. And I saw that Nike did a post as well, and then they actually went back and they corrected it and changed it. So, like, I think the biggest one for me was when Brian Havana answered that and said, "No, Portia, it's not me, it's Portia Woodman." Like, that's the thing. We need those players to do that, and we've got players in the game that today that will do that, and we need more of it.
Snapping, so much snapping from Scaz there, quietly approving. But it's also, I think a lot of this stuff is also proof that even the world champions in the women's game haven't been getting enough game time. Scaz has over 100 caps, but she also spent an insane amount of her career on the Seventh Circuit, so it could have been like so much further along. The fewer matches the Black Ferns have had year on year until now surely proves the need, and this happens at all three tiers of WXV, where teams just need more game time. And this is probably the greatest impact WXV will have, right?
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. That's what's so awesome. And it's the Black Ferns here, like, we need to be playing England and France every year. And they probably say the same. We need to be playing the Black Ferns every year. But it's the same for, there's some teams that have probably never ever played against each other before. Like, I'm not sure, because Samoa played South Africa, I'm not sure it might have been years ago, but like, when you see that, like, it's like, man, and it's visible, and it's just cool. It's really cool to see, and just the quality of rugby is just, it's gonna continue to rise. And like, you look at another 5 to 10 times. As I said, the Black Ferns, like, I used to play 1 or 2 tests a year. So for me, 16 years is, if I'm an All Black, that's 150 odd tests. And I got to 68, and now the Black Ferns are playing, it's probably between 7 and 10 tests a year now. And that's it's growing heaps, and but now it's just trying to play the tier 1 nations, and obviously WXV is going to allow that.
Doubling back on something you said earlier in terms of the rivalry between New Zealand, England, I think it was partly born out of the fact that we pretty much just used to meet in World Cup finals. Like there was never really any games in between in those 4 years, and therefore you're dumped in a World Cup final, and it's like, right, oh no, yeah, well, we're bound to hate each other because this is the most competitive thing on the planet. Whereas obviously now that's being broken down in terms of just number of games, but it's an unreal achievement to be the most capped Black Fern and on 68. And I think it's probably a shame that that's going to obviously get broken at some point, because naturally the girls
in another couple of years, bye-bye.
Yeah.
But we look forward to that being the case. Sorry, Kendra, but it would be a sign of growth.
100%. Yeah, and I'm all okay with that. It's going to happen at some stage. It's totally fine.
So now round 3 is ahead of us. If you're in the UK, Australia play Wales Friday morning at 6, France play Canada Saturday at 3 a.m, and England, New Zealand Saturday at 6 a.m. If the Red Roses beat New Zealand, they'll be the only undefeated team. But if they lose and France also win, then France, New Zealand and England will all have lost a game, and it'll go down to points difference because of the format of this competition, which is a scary prospect, points difference. What do we think the theme of the game will be? Come on, Kendra.
I mean, I hope to think it's gonna be a little bit like World Cup final last year in terms of the quality of the game. Things I know teams are developing and whatnot, but no doubt England are gonna, hate to say it, yes, but a few driving mauls maybe in there.
I knew it was coming.
The Black Ferns will look to either try and defend that or just play down the other end and play that quick KBA kind of footy, keep the ball alive and see how it goes. But I think it's going to be a goodie. As I said, like England have got nothing to lose, neither do the Black Ferns, but in terms of that revenge, you kind of you hold on to that feel and that hurt. And there's nothing better than, I guess, probably coming over here and tipping up the world champions. So I know that both teams will be up for it.
I was going to say, one thing we can definitely guarantee is there'll be tries. Like both teams will score tries. I'm almost convinced of that. Like whenever we play the Black Ferns, it's always like, right, well, they're going to score. Like, don't be surprised when that happens. It's literally what they do. They're so good at it. Obviously, you're trying not to let that happen, but it's probably going to happen. So actually, let's get back in the game however we can, not let that knock you, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be spicy, I think. Because also New Zealand are going to want to kind of not bounce back, but in terms of obviously their first round defeat to France, that's not how they would have wanted to start the tournament.
And also notable mention needs to go to Australia, who beat France 2029, because if Australia beat Wales, they could still go all the way up to 10 points and tie with everyone else at the top as well, just to put the cat amongst the pigeons in the biggest way. So
I'm glad you know, Elma.
Get your calculators out.
It just sets all of it up beautifully. White kit? What is the kit decision for this week?
Well, it's not going to be white, is it? Unless you guys are going to be black. It's quite the white kit for me. Far out. As soon as I saw them and heard they were wearing that, I was like, they're going to lose. No, I didn't think that, but it's not something that I've actually liked. And you play in a jersey, it's got a fern on it. If, you know what you're representing. But I had a few of the past Black Ferns message me when the girls were wearing white, being like, "What are they doing?" And I now think that they probably will do the not have to wear it unless they really, really have to. And I think I wore it once in my 16 years, and that was the World Cup semi-final in 2010 against France. And then every other time I've just really tried to avoid it. But it's not. There's nothing bad. There's no bad omens in it. It's just white. We'll leave the Red Roses with their white jerseys.
Well, I'm sure England has never pushed behind the scenes for wearing an away kit quite as hard as potentially it might have happened this week. And I don't know anything. I'm just saying, if I was England, I would be putting a motion forward for an away kit game like never ever.
What colour is your guys' away kit?
Well, this is what I was just thinking in terms of you guys, because ours changes like year on year. It depends on the colour scheme and all of that. Obviously, white is always white, and then the away strip it's different. Like, I'm just trying to think back to World Cup years. Like, we've had purple, red.
Oh, that was the year. Remember the men's
striping.
Team tried to go like black.
Oh yeah. We've had a very dark one. Get rid of the hoodoo.
Okay. So we need to let you go. I know we've taken up your whole evening, and it's been so good chatting to you, Kendra. We definitely want to get you back in. So if you're ever on London time zones or in outside of the world, then we'd love to have you back in. If you do end up taking a coaching gig in England, let us know. I won't tell anyone. I'm here to give you advice, guidance, support from a fellow immigrant. And then we can maybe have a braai. How about that?
Hey, I'll be down for a braai for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, there we go.
So is it West London? West London, is it where I'm coming?
I live in Twickenham. I am a walking, talking cliche. So it's not too hard to find me. Wherever you end up settling, it's easy enough. England's about this big. It's even smaller than New Zealand. So it'll be relatively easy to get hold of you.
Scaz, what are you offering?
Well, I was just thinking this. Elma's lived in the country for however long, and she offers all of our guests a braai. I've never been offered a braai, so that needs to change.
Okay. A new season braai coming up. We'll post pictures, I promise. We'll have to get out all of the nice South African foods and drink all of our favorite little lemonades. Can we, before we let you go, push you? I know you said it could go any way, but I want a prediction from you, Kendra.
I'm gonna obviously go with the Black Ferns. I'm going to say 3.
Woo.
I'm going tight. I feel like it's going to be.
I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be high scoring, but I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be within a score.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, a point does the job. Just saying. 1 point.
There's
there's
another one. There's another one.
Far out. What about you guys? I need your predictions.
Scaz is never going to bet against England.
Never. England, yeah, England by, as I say, within a score. Let's go 4.
I think there's never been more motivation for this England team to put a win up over anyone ever. So I think they are going to play their absolute little hearts out. I'm really glad I'm not lining up on the Black Fern side of this because I think there is a lot of hurt still, residual PTSD from last year. So I don't think that anyone is going to be able to keep up with England this weekend. But maybe, home sound advantage, who knows? Thank you so much, Kendra. It was great to chat to you, and keep doing the great work you are doing. You're making all of us so proud, and you are just so impressive. And I can't wait to see where you lead from next.
Thanks,
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Now, we have a small announcement to make. We've changed our plans, and we have the prerogative to do so. So you'll just have to keep up with us. Our Instagram Live went down such a treat last week. Who knew? So many people were tuning in on Instagram, and so many comments and so many questions, and even people requesting to go live with us. So we've decided that we can't not do that again, because we get to go wherever you are and you get to come with us wherever we are. So this weekend with us and our good friends from Vodafone, we'd love to have you join us on Instagram Live. We're sorry if you've bought tickets to the live show already. We are going to be doing more of those in the future, but we didn't want to lose out on getting our friends who can't get to London on Saturday morning in at least a digital room with us. And this way, wherever you are, you can join in. You don't miss out. So join us from the comfort of your PJs and your couch/bed, wherever you're watching WXV from, because we are going to be bringing you 2 live little watch-alongs this weekend. Siobhan Lillycrap will be joining me for the Wales-Wallaroos game on Friday morning, and Nick Heath will be joining Scaz and I for the Red Roses Black Ferns on Saturday morning, halftime and post-match, 6 a.m. kickoffs on both games, and we'll be with you at halftime and post-match. Just jump onto Instagram, Good Scaz Rugby. We'll be there for you. Now we need to get into predictions for the other 2 games, Scazzy. Australia-Wales, Friday morning. Where are we going?
Well, I mean, considering the result of the weekend, you probably would be a fool to bet against Australia. However, I do think Wales will be super up for this game. An opportunity for them to obviously get like a first win of the campaign. I think WXV1 especially has shown that actually well, actually, WXV everything has shown how competitive it is and how competitive a lot of the games are. So I think it will be a really, really good, tight game, but I think Australia might nick it.
Ooh, okay. And France, Canada, Saturday morning at 3.
Again, you'd think super competitive. Again, both teams will want to win off the back of their most recent results. I think France, certainly. I think you'll see a reaction from that French team. But also Canada, a huge opportunity for them to keep building throughout this tournament, which we've definitely seen. So I'm going to go France, but I do think it will be just a bash-up, if I'm honest.
A basher for France. You've already given us your prediction, England over the Black Ferns, and I completely agree with that. Then catch it on ITVX. They're showing all 3 England and Wales games. S4C showing all 3 of the Welsh games, and the rest streaming on Rugby Pass TV for free, wherever you and your device might be. Speaking of amazing content coming to your screen, wherever you and your device might be, Lydia Thompson, can we have a fan club for her even on her own? Because as Kendra mentioned, the interview I managed to get done with her in Worcester has gone live on YouTube and all of our platforms. You can listen to the audio version as well. Just a month out from the start of the Premiership women's rugby season, Worcester Warriors have had to withdraw from the league because they lost their financial backing. And we had this interview with Lydia already planned when this news started coming through. And we were genuinely worried that it would mean that she wouldn't be in a position to speak to us just because of how traumatic the last few weeks have been for them at Worcester. But we desperately wanted to hear about how she's come on in the years since her red card in the final last year. And she decided to go ahead with it. And she admits in the interview that she didn't want to do it. But she is just such power. And Scaz, my favorite bit of this whole interview is the way comments have gone. Everyone in women's rugby, it feels to me, have gotten into the comments section expressing their appreciation and respect for Lydia.
She's amazing. I listened to it yesterday and I text you guys, didn't I? I just said they don't make many like her. She's a phenomenal human. I think it's so important that she was able to speak about, what she's been through, how she's felt. And it was, I think it's an amazing listen and really important topics because none of them are easy, but that's life, isn't it? It doesn't always go the way you want, but she speaks about it so well. And she's a special human.
She is just an absolute delight and so impressive. And I think that this experience, and you can go listen to it, but there is a lot that will still come from this. I believe in her so much after that conversation, and just really appreciate the fact that we managed to still get to go there and do it. We've been the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby in partnership with Vodafone. The Good, the Scaz and the Rugby is a folding pocket production produced by Shara Kilgallen.